True story. 8 years ago, I ordered a custom bow from a reputable bow manufacturer all the way across the country. We talked a couple times, talked about woods and styles, and then we settled on what I was looking for, gave him my specs, and paid my down payment. 7 months later, the bow was ready. I paid in full. He shipped me the bow. I hated it the minute it came out of the box. It didn't look good. It didn't feel right. And it didn't shoot good. I ended up selling that bow 3 weeks later for $250 less than I paid for it. I took a bath on that, and my wife was not happy. Enter Black Widow Bows. They have a test drive program. If you're even remotely interested in shooting a Black Widow bow, give those guys at the shop a call. Talk to them. Tell them what you're looking for. They're going to give some really good guidance. They're going to have some really great advice. They're going to have a bow that's close to your specs on the demo rack, if not right on. You're going to run your card. You're going to pay for shipping both ways. You're going to pay for insurance both ways, and you're going to get to shoot the bow for a week. You might decide you don't want to shoot a Black Widow bow, and that's cool. Send it back. But you might decide you want to order one. You want to make some tweaks to get it just what you want. I wish I had that option 8 years ago. If you're thinking about a Black Widow bow, give those guys a call. If nothing else, they're fun to talk to.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Stick Bow Chronicles, brought to you by Black Widow Bows. Hey, pretty excited to bring this one to you. Got a guy, TV host from The Edge TV, Steve Ecklund, north of the border, kind of new to the stick bow. I think you guys are really going to like it. Had a blast talking to this dude. I can't wait till they open the borders up. Look forward to getting together with him and shooting the breeze, having a beer, and, I don't know, maybe talking hockey. So, anyways, we'll make it quick. I Hunt Close Trad Kill 2021. Keep them rolling in. Send your success photos to ihuntclose at Gmail. Oh, excuse me. ihuntcloseofficial at gmail.com. Short description. If it's your first trad kill, make sure you mention it in there. And, yeah. Enjoy seeing all the photos, and we got some great stuff to give away back in December. So keep them rolling in. I'm going to keep it short because it's wicked early here, and I got to go cut firewood. Anybody want to come help? So anyways, big thanks to the sponsors, Selway Archery, Kifaru International, Backwoods Grind Coffee Company, the Footed Shaft, and, of course, Black Widow Bows. Man, it's happening fast. So what is it? Pretty much mid-July. So mid-August, we're talking antelope. We're talking like a month and a half. It's crazy. Month and a half. So anyway, stay after it. Thanks for listening. And please subscribe, share it up, leave us a 5-star review. I don't know. That's all I got. Enjoy the week. Roger out. Go ahead.
Well, contrary to popular belief, I don't usually do a lot of podcasts. I get a lot of requests for podcasts, but I don't do a lot of them. So yeah, here we go.
Well, like it, yeah, no,
if it goes sideways, it's all on you.
Trust me, it generally goes sideways. I'm known as the knucklehead. I am the king of knuckleheads. I did listen to you with Wasey on and Ty on Wilderness Locals podcast.
Oh yeah.
And I was a little taken back by the by thinking that the Americans don't know who Red Green is.
Well, it's one of those things. I know when that got posted up, it was there was a lot of U.S. fans that chimed in and said, "Yeah, hell yeah, we know who Red Green is."
yeah, he's kind of an idol of mine.
Well, I don't know if you got to see what all transpired there, but it was, I don't know, I was jacking around down here in the man cave one day and I seen a plaid shirt. Of course, it was COVID, so I had a bigger beard than I do right now. And I put this plaid shirt on and I grabbed a pair of suspenders and I looked in the mirror and I was like, good Lord, who do I remind myself of? And I threw on this old shitty hat and I was like, oh my God, I'm red green.
Well, I had to go on Instagram, look at the pictures, man. You're nailing it.
It was funny. We had a thing up here. The network called me and asked me if I'd live host a hunter's auction on Wild TV. And I agreed to it and went up to Edmonton into the studio and, of course, live TV. Well, I showed up with this red-green outfit on. And, of course, everybody thought it was funny. And, I knew I kind of looked like him. But the overwhelming response, like we had other networks reaching out to Wild TV going, how did you get red-green out of retirement?
Are you kidding me?
Like, I didn't know whether to hang myself or laugh about it.
Did you ever get any calls from Red Green?
No, I haven't yet.
Or his lawyers? Right on. So, Steve, how old are you? I think we're the same age.
47.
Oh, well, you're going to be mad at me now. It's already gone sideways.
No, 47 years old. And, where do I start? For me, hunting, is I grew up hunting in a hunting family. Of course, back then it was, we didn't really think much of it. It wasn't a pastime. It was more of you had to put meat in the freezer. I grew up in Northern Ontario, and my dad worked a pulp paper mill job, and he owned a gun shop on the side. And, of course, they were, unionized pulp paper mill. So, every 2 years they'd be on strike. Got to be tough. It was a tough way to try to, raise a family and make sure you were providing. So getting a moose in the freezer for not only us, but everybody really in the local area, that was a big deal. You had to get one for the winter or else you could be in big trouble, right? So you grew up gun hunting. Oh, yeah. Grew up gun hunting, really got into archery just to have an extended season, more opportunities. Started, shooting a compound bow. And the very first compound bow I ever got, I think I was, maybe 12, 11 maybe. Anyways, young enough to still have birthday parties and kids coming over. And it was a humbling and embarrassing moment for me because my dad got me this little compound bow, and I was the only kid at the whole party that couldn't pull it back. All of my buddies could, so I had to eat a shit sandwich on that one.
What? Yeah, I'll bet that left a mark.
Oh yeah, it did for sure. Yeah, it did for sure.
And then tell the listeners what you've got going on. You are the host of a sports show.
Yeah, host of The Edge TV, and that that all come about. I never set out to host a television program, but it was, I guess, 11 years ago, 12 years ago now. I got offered in the same year. Two different TV shows offered me a gig to be a co-host, and I actually the very first year. I accepted one of them. It wasn't The Edge. I actually turned The Edge down, and I went with a show called The Canadian Traditions out of Southern Ontario. We kind of did our thing for a year, and I got my eyes opened up to that. And to be honest with you, absolutely hated it right out of the gates. Trying to hunt and film, I just didn't think it was my cup of tea. When we watch the shows, I'm sitting here with my wife. We watch the shows, and I look like a complete ass because every time the camera's on me, I'm trying to say something profound and something educational. And really, it was just me not being me anymore. I was trying to be an upgraded version of myself, or at least what I thought was an upgraded version of myself. And because of that, it soured me. Every time I seen that little red light go on with the camera, all I could think about was do something cool, say something cool, and it just didn't pan out. And it was a again, another life lesson there, because I was ready to actually quit. And my wife said to me, she said, you got 2 offers to do TV shows. Why do you think that is? And I'm like, well, I have above average success rates when I hunt, and that's probably why they want me. And she goes, okay, what else? And, well, personality, I guess. And she said, well, there you go. Bingo. They wanted you for your personality and a little bit for your skills, but primarily personality, for TV. And she said, as soon as the camera comes on, you're somebody different. So you're giving them something that they didn't even want in the first place. Why don't you just try being yourself? And that alone is huge, because mentally you have to kind of dive into that, and you put yourself out there for failure. What if people don't like me? What if I make a mistake? What if I do this? What if I do that? And all these things. And then I just said, you know what? I'm at the bottom of the barrel right now anyway with this whole TV thing. It can't hurt to try it. And if they don't like me, my attitude was, well, you could pound sand and I'm out of here. And here we are going on season 12 now.
Well, you didn't say looks. Like I figured you were going to say they want you for your looks.
They don't want me for my looks. I can promise you that.
Hey, it worked for Red Green, man.
My face can hold a 12-day rain.
It worked for Red Green. Oh, that's good stuff.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. So today, being in that world today, and it's evolved in the last 4 or 5 years, and so you got to see it. You got in when it was something, and now it's changed to something completely different. Talk a little bit about that. How has that been to watch?
For me, always being a fan of outdoor television, even from when I was a kid, you'd get up and you'd have maybe 2 hunt shows on Saturday morning in between cartoons, Bill Jordan and the Realtree crew and all that kind of stuff. And I had, a lot of hunting heroes as I kind of got older and kept up with the TV scene and these, celebrity hunters. I was, a huge fan of outdoor television. So for me, when I kind of get in it myself, I was inspired by a lot of what I was seeing. But again, in the very early stages, for me, I didn't really care about the TV. I didn't know, to this day, I don't know how to turn a camera on. I don't edit. I'll edit video clips on my phone from the start and the end, but I could never take a clip out of it. I have no idea. I'm not that guy.
Neither am I.
But, I didn't care about things like, production quality and taking the time to, out of the hunt to walk by this creek so we could get footage of you walking by the creek, or, a cameraman saying, hey, do you mind going back there 50 yards and climbing back up this hill? I'd be like, hell no, I'm not doing that.
With a load on, no doubt.
Yeah. So I didn't care. In my head, I was going to do my thing. I'm going to go and hunt the way I want to hunt. And there's another professional camera operator with me to capture that. And, to this day, I tell cameramen, I'm going to get my shot. You better make sure you get yours. And, nowadays it's different as I start to kind of do it, and you start to see a little bit of success with the TV show and people are digging it for whatever reason, whether it's hardcore hunters or the humor I put into it, because I'm a big believer in, if you're not having fun, don't bother doing it. But I am a super serious hunter. So for whatever reason, people are liking it. But I understand more now. It's production quality. It's taking the time to make these shots. It's an extra day here, an extra day there to bring it all together. And that's simply because I'm a super competitive guy by nature. And I don't want to have a second-rate TV show. I don't want to have a TV show that doesn't rate number 1. I don't always achieve that on a month-to-month basis. But that's the goal, hunt hard, be successful, have fun, and bring the viewership the very best quality of a hunt show that we can. this ties into your original question, because I've watched it over the years, all of these hunting heroes that I've had and these TV shows. Well, in the last decade or so, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of these people. And there's a lot of them that weren't exactly who I thought they were, you know? So I learned from that too. Stay humble as much as you can. And again, just try to get after it from a real perspective. And that's what I miss about a lot of the outdoor television we have today, is it's full of fluff. And, you know, when every second scene is a sunset, you know, with it going past the back of your head, all the bullshit that goes in with it. Don't get me wrong, I love a sunset just like everyone else, but I want to stay real, you know, like little things like you'll never see in my show me bear down on an animal with a rifle or a bow and then see me click the safety off or see me put my release strap on, because that shit's already done, man. Yeah. You know, that's already over.
Yeah.
And you know, we have a lot of great partners with our show right now. I'm really blessed on that side of the thing, because we didn't, you know, even from an early age, because I wasn't doing this for a living. Like you, I have a real job. I actually have a couple real jobs on top of hosting this television show. So because I've allowed the TV show to be a passion project of mine, it really took the pressure off of the financial side of it. So, you know, if somebody wanted to cut a big check and say, hey, we want to be a part of your show, well, it's like, I'm not interested in your money. I'm interested in you, and I'm interested in your product potentially. But I guess long story short is we don't have a single partner now where I don't truly believe that I'm using the best possible product available to me at this time. Yeah. Regardless of this. Yeah. You know, regardless of the money.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because I just got some random message through Instagram. Somebody developing a broadhead and asking me, what do you charge to be an influencer? I'm like,
I got the same message.
What? Did you really?
I got the same message. Yeah.
Well, now I thought I was special.
It was from a girl named Michelle, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I wasn't going to say it. Yeah. So what do you charge?
Yeah. I told her $25K or pound it.
You know, I tried to be nice, and I said pretty much what you just said. You know, I have a few sponsors, and I really believe in the products. And, you know, thanks for reaching out. But I was just blown away by that, because how many times do people bite and you see them pushing a product and they know nothing about it. You know, it might be a great product. I don't know, but.
Yeah, there's so much of that going on now. It's so easy to connect with people through the social platforms that we have available to us today, you know?
Yeah. And it's so easy to be phony. I guess that's wraps into what you were saying right there.
Yeah. You know, if you're going to approach me about your broadheads, you know, from a salesmanship standpoint, how about instead of just saying, hey, how much does it cost for you to endorse this product? That's literally what the message said, right?
Yep.
So how about coming to me, hey, Steve, I've been following you for a long time. Love the show. I understand that you're partnered and have been for a long time with G5 Outdoors and their broadheads, but we're coming to market with a broadhead of our own, and we were wondering if you'd try it out. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I might respond a little differently, you know?
Yeah.
And say, hey, you know, send them. I'll try it. I'll give you my honest feedback. But you know, I'm currently very happy with our relationship and our partnership with G5 Outdoors. So I don't think there's a lot of, you know, stock in me becoming the next endorser of the, you know, 7-blade 2000 broadhead that you come out with. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. It might be a fantastic broadhead. I don't know. But, you know, again, we're getting looked at as influencers. And I mean, I am the furthest thing away from an influencer than you can ever imagine.
I'm an influencer. I've always been an influencer, but a bad influencer. Yeah. I've been a bad influence for years.
I'm the guy sitting down with our partners going, okay, listen, are you sure you want to do this?
Because you get all of this, and it ain't always pretty.
Yeah, it's the whole package. It goes right back to my wife telling me to be myself. This is it.
Yeah.
You get it. The good and the bad.
That's good. That's good. So I first, you caught my eye that, with a photo you posted on Instagram, actually a little video clip of shooting a dang nice chocolate bear with a stick bow. So I reached out and I was like, hey man, how long have you been shooting a stick bow? So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, the stick bow for me, I smile every time I think about it. I've been an archer pretty much my whole life, from that young age at, 11 years old, plunking at pie plates in the backyard as soon as I was man enough to pull that Rambo bow back, and then really got into it again, like I said, to get an extension of my hunting season. Where I was growing up, rifle seasons were relatively short, but yet I could bow hunt for, 2 months. And so that's when I really started getting serious with it. And of course, self-taught, backyard, shooting at dirt piles, all that kind of stuff. And one day, a buddy of mine said, hey, why don't you, come in, enter this 3D tournament? And anyways, I think you probably heard that story, but we went to a 3D tournament. I had no idea what it was. And he says, dude, you'll love it. He said, it's like 25 life-size animal targets, and you get to shoot it twice in one day. I'm like, oh, I'm in, I'm in. And we went there. Long story short, I ended up winning it. And when you win something like that in life, I think anything that you're good at, you're going to gravitate to. So I started to do that, and then I started to shoot competitive. I turned pro. 1999, which is forever ago, I won a gold medal at the national championships here in Canada for 3D archery, and kind of went from there. So, and I'm not forgetting your original question. I'm just trying to get you there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get you to the answer. The very first solo hunt I ever went on in my life without my dad present was a black bear hunt. And I think I was 12 or 13 at the time, petrified out of my mind. Lots of crazy stuff happened in that. That's an hour conversation right there. Skip to the good parts. I got one. And at 12 years old, well, I'm 47 now, and I can't really do the quick math on that, but a long time ago. And I bear hunted every year since then. And I've had the opportunity to kind of do that and bear hunt all the way from the East Coast right out through to BC here in the West Coast. And sometimes one, sometimes two, sometimes three bears a year. Shot them with rifles, shot them with muzzleloaders, shot a pile of them with my compound bow, and had a very successful bear hunting career, if you want to call it that. Shot some jumbos. I killed Alberta's largest black bear. That was 2008 or 2009. It's since been beat, but at the time, and it's still absolute monster of a bear at just under 22-inch skull. Love the bear hunt, but I kind of started getting tired. I'd go on these hunts and I'd see, I've got a couple of great places right here in Alberta and Saskatchewan where we could see anywhere from a half a dozen to 20 bears a day.
Wow.
And I would see, these quantities of bears on a hunt day after day after day, and I'm not killing any because I'm looking for this next world record. Like, how do I top what I've already done? And I actually, on quite a few occasions, whether we're filming for a show or just hunting on my own, which I do a lot of outside of the show as well, I'd take a good bear, an 18-inch Pope and Young bear, but I've killed, 30 bigger than that one. I just enjoy it a lot. Enter a conversation with Wasey Arthur and a few boys after a Alberta Bowhunters Banquet one year, 3 years ago, and sitting there having a pint with them and listening to the stories of them, stick bow hunting and getting close. And I thought, you know what, that's something that I would love to do. And So I went down to our local archery shop and here in town, you know, Jimbo's Archery. And I said, hey, listen, I want to try this. And here's my intention. I want to work real hard with it. I want to become a well-rounded archer. And then I'm going to hunt with this thing. And I'll probably start with bears. And everybody goes, are you crazy? Bears? You're going to start with bears? Why don't you start with deer? Well, I don't have the balls to go and sit there with my stick bow, because as soon as I do that, the deer of a lifetime is going to stand there at 55 yards. And I'm going to be looking at this thing going, oh my God, I've made a great error here. So that was my reasoning to get into bears. So I practiced until my fingers bled, and I had no idea what I was doing. And, you know, even at the first year, I'd watch that arrow come out of that recurve and it would be fishtailing and you name it. And I really had no idea on how to get this thing tuned. But I went and I was successful. I killed my first bear and it lit me up inside. I mean, I was 12 years old again. The bear hunt, it was just rejuvenated for me. And I've been bear hunting now ever since, 3 years in a row. And now I've killed 5 black bear with my bow, with my stick bow.
Nice.
And I couldn't be happier. Again, it's rejuvenated that spark that was gone for so long, with how many bears I've been fortunate to take. And the excitement of it all is mind-boggling. And here's why. I got a ton of videos that you could watch where it's like, holy cow, I can't believe he's that close to a black bear and he's on the ground. I'm talking like 1.5 feet, 2 feet. Crazy footage. But I'm on, and people go, you're going to get yourself killed. That's crazy. Why would you do that? Well, it's not because I have a death wish. I'm not the bear whisperer. I promise you that. I have an utmost of respect for bears. I have been around them so much that I do think I have a really good handle on their mannerisms. And I really believe that you'll meet bears on a daily basis. It sounds funny to say that out loud, but you'll meet these bears and they have different personalities. And even day to day, like seeing some of the same bears day to day. One day he'll be, real calm and docile. And the next day he's got a burr under his saddle and he's pissed at something. He's hungry. His girlfriend told him no. I mean, who knows, right? But I really, truly believe they have unique personalities, and that changes on a day-to-day basis. So being able to understand these mannerisms, allows me to push the envelope and definitely know when to back off, right? But I'm getting really close to these bears, not because I have this weird death wish. It's because I'm not very good with the stick.
I was waiting for that.
So I choose to hunt off the ground for the most part. And I'm practicing off the ground for the most part. And I found, not this year, but last year, I'd go up in the tree stand and I'd start practicing on my bear target, a life-size bear target. And my consistency wasn't there like it was if I was on the ground. So that's the major reason, why I choose to kind of do it the dangerous way, if you want to call it, off the ground, up close and personal. But, I'm super comfortable on a live animal, at out to about 15 yards, to be honest with you. I'm 9.5 out of 10 at that range, super comfortable. I do practice out to 30. I don't think I'd ever shoot at a live animal myself right now at 30 yards. But this year, as you probably saw in the video, that was the first time I ever took a bear out of a tree stand with my bow. It was a monster bear. Yeah, it was a colored bear.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, super proud of myself for how that all went down, because he had me like 4 different times. He'd come in, he'd walk on his own footsteps, the same trail every time, quartering to me. And then he'd lay down right at my max comfortable distance, right at 15 yards, facing me. And he'd eat literally out of this, we were baiting these bears, and he'd eat out of this 12-inch circle of trail mix that I put on the ground. But the trail mix I put on the ground is the size of a sofa, and why he would eat out of this same little 12-inch circle, I have no idea. But he had me figured out, and he definitely knew I was there. And each time he would come in, I would tell myself, I'd be prepared, waiting for my shot. Surely he's going to turn. He's going to give me a broadside shot. This is a baited hunt. It's, I'm in control of this situation. At least that's what I believe. I'm in control to the best of my ability. Yeah. Put it that way. And so I'd wait and I'd calm down. I'd calm myself down and I'd give myself the pep talks, like, okay, this is my max comfortable yardage. You can do this, Steve. You practice. You've got it. You've got it. And I'm telling myself this in my own head. And that bear would jump up and boom, blaze out of there every single time. Same trail, same direction, and on full tilt, chasing, sows and heat. And the fourth time he did that to me in the same day, I was disheartened, and I started to really study the surroundings. And I'm starting to formulate a game plan for the next day. I'm going to go in early, 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to set my tree stand up in this tree over here, and I'll get them coming to the bait as long as the wind's in the right direction, yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden, 10 p.m., he comes in again. And I'm like, that's it. This is it. This is a sign. I've got him. Well, he comes in on those same footsteps, same trail, lays down facing me again. And I mean, I was beside myself. And I sat there and I said, Steve, why don't you try something different with this bear? Every time you let him get up on his own, and every time he does the same thing. So why don't you force the issue and try to stand him? And that's exactly what I did. I got myself in the ready position with my recurve, and I started to rake my stand with my boot, making noises. And in the video, you could actually see when I raked that stand the second time, he kind of gives me one of those whitetail nods. He lifts his head a little bit and then drops it real quick. And I knew right then he's very well aware of what's going on. Raked it the third time, nothing. Fourth time I raked it, he stood up, turned, and went on that same trail again. But he was going slower. He wasn't in hot pursuit. He was still moving, but he was going slower. And to be honest with you, all of the fear about shooting a little further, all of the fear about him, quartered away, the fear about him being on the move disappeared. I couldn't tell you what happened. I drew back. I hit my anchor point. I felt good, and I cut it loose. And, within 30 seconds, the death moan, and we had this monster on the ground. My biggest color phase black bear to date with the traditional archery equipment.
That was a heck of a shot. Like you said earlier when we were talking, the distance on camera is kind of tough sometimes. But so I wasn't sure the distance, but quartering away and. That was a heck of a shot, and you just gotta love seeing a critter go down so fast with a good broadhead. I mean, that thing went down in sight, right?
Absolutely, man. That shot was 22, 23 yards. Why? It probably looks a lot further than that on camera. I wasn't filming it for a show. I took off, with COVID and everything else. Going on and not being able to travel for my real job for work, kind of the stresses of life and all that. And I said, you know what, I'm going to blaze out of here and I'm going to go bear hunt, tow my little swellfish boat behind me and maybe hit a few lakes and catch some walleye. And so I did. I loaded up the truck and I blazed out and hunted northern Alberta. And I put out tester baits, when I'm doing this kind of a style of a hunt. You don't put a lot of effort into a 45-gallon drum and all the bells and whistles. You put some bait out on the ground and a trail camera in a good spot that has maybe dandelions or fresh grass growing and hopefully some bear scat in the area, is what I'm looking for. And throw out some treats for them. and we use trail mix. Really, it works great. And so I ended up killing a really nice black bear, like a 18.5-inch black bear in Alberta. And then I went over onto the Saskatchewan side, and that's where I got lucky on that big colored one.
Yeah. When you do those tester baits, are you putting out a call scent?
A scent?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
No. I would typically in a lot of areas, but where I went on this one, I'm very familiar with the area and how many bears are in the area, just from general population. If I was going to a brand new spot that I was unaware of at any point in time, then I'd probably put out what we call a stink bait of some sort, a scent, maybe fish guts, crab works really good because all that meat stays in the shell and it just rots in there, and not even the birds can get at it. So that's really good. But once I get them coming, then I switch it up to easier stuff, and I've used a multitude of different baits over the years for bears. Popcorn works great.
Yeah.
Trail mix. I don't, years ago we used to use a lot of the pork scraps from the butcher shops. But what happens too often is a bear will come in, no matter how small you cut that up, and he'll grab a chunk and he'll run off, and he could eat it for 2 hours and not come back. So these things like dog food, popcorn, trail mix, it's very hard for them to grab and eat. So, and it keeps them there. They can't grab a big chunk. So it keeps them at the bait site a lot longer, and hopefully at some point in time, giving you an opportunity for a nice, clean, ethical kill shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's your setup? What are you shooting?
I'm shooting a striker recurve, the classic, 45 pounds at 28-inch draw. And I'm shooting the Victory Archery carbon trads out of it. Broadheads, I've used a plethora of different broadheads. Again, trial and error, because I wasn't really sure. You Google it or you look at some TV shows, and every trad guy in the world's got a 2-bladed broadhead, this great big thing. And so I've tried, $10 packages of broadheads all the way up to mortgaging the house for the iron will broadheads, which I'm not going to lie, they're a fantastic broadhead, but we laughed a little bit at the start of this about a conversion rate. I think I bought 6 of those broadheads just to try. And I'm not the guy that calls up a company and says, "Hey, look at me. I'm so-and-so. You want to send me some free shit?" Like, I'm just not that guy, right? I'd rather buy it and try it myself. Anyways, I bought 6 of those iron will wides, and I think by the time the conversion rate hit me, I was $450 into it. So I'm back on the G5 train with my partners there, and they're actually working on coming out with the trad broadhead here.
Are they?
Yeah.
Are you helping them at all? Where are they getting their? Or maybe that's inside information.
It's a little inside information. It probably. I'm hoping they're not even listening to this podcast, just in case.
I can scratch it if you want.
But yeah, so I mean, I've just tried a plethora of things, and this year I kind of took the fundamentals from my compound, my wheeled bow knowledge, and I started pouring that into my recurve. And right or wrong, I started twisting my string up, which changes obviously your brace height and obviously the flight of your arrow. I actually went to paper tuning. Of course, did the walk back tuning for everybody who will freak out on me for just paper tuning. So we did it all. And I'd video that in slow motion with my cell phone, propped up on a tripod. And then I'd just watch it over until I was very happy with the flight of that arrow. And I'll tell you what, at 45 pounds and 28-inch draw length, that arrow is cruising through animals.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Like, put a smile on your face. That's how hard it's hammering them.
And you've been at this game long enough. You remember this. Everybody reaching for speed. Remember the overdraws and
oh God,
and all that stuff. And here it's like you come full circle. Now we're shooting 175 feet per second.
I always use this analogy when people start talking about, if they care enough to really have an honest conversation about accuracy and speed and kinetic energy. These are all things that I could talk all day about, because I'm very familiar with them. I know what works. I'm not going to try to sell you bullshit on any of it, because I'm just going to tell you what works. As a compound archer, primarily, I'm trying to achieve 280 feet a second, because that is 280, 285. That's a sweet spot for arrow flight, kinetic energy, with a broadhead. And anything faster than that, you have to be a rock star. And here's the analogy I use. When your wife asks you to jump in the truck, go down the street to get a jug of milk, tell me, how many times have you done that and crashed your vehicle? How many?
None.
Now, I hand you the keys to a Ferrari and I say, hey, I want you to go down the street and grab a jug of milk.
Yeah.
The odds of you, because you have the power, right? You have the power, you have the excitement, and you're going to hammer on it. I guarantee it.
Give me the keys. We'll find out. Give me the keys, Steve.
You'll end up in the ditch. And it's the same thing with archery. The faster you make that projectile go, the more proficient you have to be as a driver and control. And there's no one out there. I mean, until you get to the Levi Morgans and guys like that, I don't think I was ever in my entire archery career anywhere close to those skill levels as we see the archers have today. But I was pretty damn good, and the faster you went, the harder it was to control. And it's no different. You talk about kinetic energy. Okay, well, speed will get you kinetic energy, but so will weight, right? So finding the perfect combination of both of those. So going with a recurve or a traditional bow, whether it's a recurve or a long bow or whatever else there is in the traditional world, I'm still learning. You achieve that through weight and proper arrow flight. You get your proper arrow flight, you get a front of center weight, and I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you, 540 grain arrow coming out of that 28-inch draw, 45-pound recurve. I mean, by the time you let it go and all you see is fletching disappear. Gone. That's it. Gone.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, like I said, we've kind of come full circle, so to speak, in the thought process of the 90s, to where in 2000 to where we are today. Yeah.
Well, I think a big reason for that too is it's the same with rifle hunters. Back in the day, we all wanted the flattest shooting rifle possible because we were all guessing yardages.
Yeah.
It was a big guessing match, especially with the excitement of a hunt. So now that technology's come out and rangefinders, you can actually hold them in the palm of your hand instead of carrying them in a cart behind you, because they were so big when they first came out. It's like looking, bringing up a laptop computer and hit the button on it, to now, one hand operation. And harnesses, a plethora of different harnesses that hold a rangefinder in a handy spot so you can get to it really fast. We're taking these yardages now, which is, a sound hunting practice. At least especially when you're diving out into the compound world and everything else. I mean, for me, I really don't need my rangefinder when I'm using my traditional equipment, archery equipment, because everything, like I said, is anywhere from 2 yards to 20 yards max. Mm-hmm. And it's it becomes I'm a tip to target archer when it comes to my traditional stuff. I don't have any fancy anything on there. I don't have any arrow rests. It's off the shelf, and just kind of tip to target and let it fly. 18 yards, here's where I need to hold it. 15 yards, here's where I need to hold it. 20 yards, so on and so forth.
So you are using, that was my next question, your aiming method. You did come up with an aiming method?
Yeah. I mean, I would sound foolish, I guess, to anyone, obviously, probably the majority of your listeners, because I really don't know what to call my aiming method other than tip to target. I arrange my broadheads in a way that when I draw my bow back and I hit my anchor points, I quickly look down at my broadhead. I look at my target, and my body I just raise the bow into where it feels where I need to be and cut it loose.
And that's just something you came up with. You didn't do any online coaching courses, books, other than Wasey?
No.
Wasey gets you pointed in the right direction?
It's different too, because the bow I'm shooting right now, I have to have very vertical to get my left and right, where my first instinct is to shoot from a canted position. And so I would arrange my broadheads to where when they tightened up, I had two blades kind of horizontal with the world, and it gave me a little bit bigger of a reference to look at, and then just, like I said, kind of raise up and let it fly. But when I shot this bow canted, for whatever reason, I would have a lot of left to right error. And I talked to a guy one time. He said, well, try shooting as vertical as possible and see what happens. And as soon as I tried shooting vertical, everything was right down the pipe. So I just trained myself to shoot vertically. And I guess I was told that some bows, will favor a more vertical stance than a canted stance. And I can't tell you why. I heard that from an old boy, and it works for me. So, maybe the next recurve I get, it'll shoot canted. I don't know.
Well, I could say I see you're making the transition, because as you're talking, and for the listeners, we're on Zoom. The first time I can see you're holding release when you're doing that, and then the second time you're using your fingers. So you actually are making the transition.
I know. Well, I talk with my hands, and I got to keep remembering that the listeners probably aren't going to see any of this anyway. I'm like, it was a great podcast, but it would have been like super badass if you could have seen my hand movements.
Oh, well, I got to tell you, we've had some guests on where I got to get this thing on YouTube, because we've had some guests on that are just so animated. It's hysterical. The headset's falling off, and I'm generally on the floor laughing. So next question now. Killing the bear, you're still working on your yardage, 15, 20 in. Do you see yourself moving on to a different species?
Yeah, this year, and probably not on film, just because of the pressures of film. I want to be completely relaxed the first time I pursue, deer or elk with my bow. But I think this year I'm really going to try to maybe do a mule deer hunt with my bow. I think it would be very beneficial for a lot of the style of hunting that we're doing here in southern Alberta. We're stalking through lots of coulees. So we're jumping these deer out of the rosebush beds that they have in the little pockets. And if anybody's ever done that style of hunting, a mule deer, 65% of the time will jump and stand for a couple of seconds before and try to figure out what you are before they bolt. And the speed of that recurve, I think it will play into my favor, actually.
The ability to shoot.
The
quickly.
Ability to snap shoot, fast, and I practice a lot of that with my recurve just because it's fun. And even before I'm hunting, this might be interesting to your listeners, but before I started the hunt with the recurve, I was practicing so much with it, shooting stationary targets. And I would go and shoot with friends, or even to maybe a small little archery competition that's going on. And I'd show up with my recurve, and it was a huge weight off my shoulders, because when I show up with a compound bow, everybody expects you to be an all-star. Every shot, every movement, every this, every that, you just kind of get this little vibe going within these small little communities. Like, oh, Steve's here. He's going to clean up, but then I show up with my recurve and everybody laughs and they're like, oh shit, you'll be out of arrows before, in 2 hours. And I'll be like, damn right I will be. No pressure whatsoever.
Yeah. So
it was very enjoyable for me to actually go and shoot without these pressures. And so I started, putting targets inside old tires and having somebody roll a tire across, and, I'd fire arrows at this tire as it was rolling across the backyard. And I actually did a show where I went to Montana and hunted pheasants, and I would not shoot a pheasant on the ground. Everything was in the air with foo-floos. So in preparation for that, I couldn't tell you how many clay pigeons and how many frisbees that I shot out of the air with my recurve and become quite good. Maybe to the point where I would say I could probably hit a moving target, snap shooting, better than I could group a bunch of arrows at 20 yards.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I took it out and did a snow goose hunt with it this year. And I finally got my first snow goose, a hit, a solid hit on a bird and out of the air, which was cool.
Was coming into decoys?
Yeah.
I always thought that'd be a blast.
Yeah, man, it's fun. It was a learning curve on that side too, because when I first started doing it, it started with the pheasants, and I don't know what in the world I was thinking taking a recurve on a pheasant hunt, because them suckers are fast.
Yeah.
And these are all wild birds. So you walk up on them and they go any direction. I mean, it could be right at you, side to side, or straight away. And of course, I'm practicing the straightaway with my clay pigeons. And then once in a while, I'd talk a friend into throwing frisbees, and I'd get them to go out, 15 or 20 yards in front of me and kind of throw them across. And I would, lead them and shoot them out of the air. But the speed on a pheasant is what got me. I got tail feathers somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 arrows later. I got tail feathers one time, and it was probably by accident.
He was molting.
Yeah. So, but the snow goose hunt, when you get a professional, a guy who knows what he's doing with the spread, and those birds are coming in, it's so much fun. Still very difficult, but so much fun. But the point I was getting to was I tried, the big catchers that you put on the front of these arrows.
Oh yeah.
Then I tried, which don't fly worth the shit, by the way, for anybody that's listening. Don't even waste your money on those, because you can't practice. They don't fly.
Well, are they called snaros? It's a blunt?
Yeah, snares or something like that.
Yeah, I've got 4 of them in my man cave that have been there for 23 years, and I've never put them on an arrow. They look like a bad idea.
If any of your listeners are in the market to buy those snares, man, have I got a deal for you. But then I went from those to kind of like the small game, like if you're shooting birds, they got the little wire grabbers.
Yep, judo.
It's a little smaller profile. They weren't too bad, but I ended up just going straight broadheads.
The iron will?
Yeah, well, no, not the iron wills. Not the iron wills. I'm basically I shoot the what are they? Not the Montec.
Oh yeah.
The Montec broadhead, 100 grain broadhead. And they fly really great. And at least that way I can practice with these foo-floos. And of course you're retrieving your arrows back with those foo-floos anyway. But they fly really good, like a field point. So.
Were you worried about the dog and the broadhead and arrow and stuff?
No, I mean, I think you just I think common sense has to kick in, no different than if you were shotgunning them, right? You're trying to be super fast to make sure you're within range by the time you hit your anchor point. But, I mean, you got to let the birds lift enough to get out of the way of the dogs. That's number one.
Yeah, I was thinking more like when you hit a bird or you got arrows out in the field, the dogs running around. I always
concern me.
Yeah, that's a good point, I guess. Yeah, I mean, cognizant of it, but too worried. The bird, the snow goose that I shot this year, I mean, that arrow, you think it goes through a bear. I mean, it's the hardest part about knocking these birds out of the air is having your arrow actually stay in it, because they usually just shoot right through it. And they glide forever and then eventually pile up. It's not like you're pounding them with the shotgun and the impact itself will knock them out of the air. It's the same meal deal. I mean, you have this sharp object, cascading through this thin skinned bird body, and you got to hit something inside to make him come out of the air, or else he's just going to keep flying.
Yeah.
For God knows how far,
It's like those blue grouse when you're elk hunting. You shoot a blue grouse, on a ridge, and he just sets his wings, and he goes to the bottom of the canyon. They're tough to track.
Yeah, exactly.
They got $20 worth of arrow hanging in them.
Yeah, exactly. I think, on my next bird adventure with the recurve or traditional stuff, I think I'm going to go to the biggest, ugliest, nastiest expandable broadhead I can find.
Oh, yeah.
So when it does hit him, it actually loses a lot of that kinetic energy and actually stays in the bird, is my hope anyway.
Yeah, I've never used them, but they also, you're talking about a judo point earlier with little springies on it. They make a deal that slides on your arrow shaft, so it'd be right behind the broadhead, but it slides up the arrow shaft. So when it hits, when that arrow hits and starts to go through, it's sliding that thing up the shaft. That might be something too.
That would be cool. I'll definitely have to look into something like that.
So real quick, I mean, you grew up hunting. You've been obviously looking at all the sheep behind you. You've had a lot of success. If you could pick out one trait that you think that has really put it together for you as a hunter as a whole, what would that be?
Mindset, 100%. I don't even have to think about it. Mindset. All the best equipment in the world, all the practicing that I do, it's mindset. I'm in competition against myself every time I go out there. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not an athlete. I'm not at the gym. I don't have ripped abs. I have a mind that puts one foot in front of the other, even when it's tough out there. And, a lot of times I'll be sitting there and I don't know if a lot of people can understand that, but I'll reach down and I'll lace up my boots, and it's like I'm getting ready to go to battle. And I enjoy the shit out of it, and I think it's probably the biggest thing. You talk about these sheep behind me, there's such that trendy little deal going on right now about sheep shape. You have to be in sheep shape to do this. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be. I've taken some of my fattest friends up the mountain, and they do just fine. We just go slower. That's it. And, I can laugh about that whole thing, but that's honest truth. The part that I don't like about the sheep shape and you have to be an athlete, yes, it helps. And I'm not about to tell anybody, hey, the fatter you are, the better it's going to be for you. That's not the case. But what does kind of irritate me is that there are so many people out there that want to sheep hunt that aren't in the best shape, and they sit there and they listen to all this crap and they go, I'd love to do it, but I can't. So I'm not even going to try. And it's a shame, because that sheep hunt, any mountain hunt really for that matter, I've never been on one that didn't suck. They suck bad. But when you get off the mountain, whether you come off with an animal or not, and your mind starts to reset, your body starts to come back to normal. And it's probably one of the proudest things that a hunter could ever experience, because you've just pushed your mind and your body to limits that you didn't even know really existed. And you're forced to, because once you're out there, there's only one way to get back, and that's one foot in front of the other. You can't just lay down and die. Your mind's not going to let you do that. So it's mindset for me, 100%. I think it equates even into accuracy, whether you're shooting a rifle, a compound bow, a traditional bow. Mindset. Look at your target and know your arrow is going to go there. That whole be the arrow. That's a real thing. Be the arrow. Look at your target. Imagine your arrow going there and then send it. It's as simple as, I have a bottle of water on this little computer desk that I got my computer on right now. And I want you to tell me, if you're thirsty and you reach out to grab that bottle, how many times have you missed it? None. I reached out and I grabbed it because I was thirsty. And I actually was thirsty, but it tied into what I was saying there.
Dude, you're smooth, man. You are smooth.
Yeah, there was a little drama queen in there, I think, but it all panned out pretty good.
Damn, you're one smooth operator. No, I get what you're saying. It's an intestinal fortitude. You put your mind to something and you're going to see it through. Yeah.
It's like anything in life. I don't know how much time you have, but I mean, it's kind of one of these deals where if you put your mind to something, which is mindset, then you can accomplish it. How many times, there's so many haters out there that are only hating because they want to be able to do what you do. They want to have this wall of sheep like I have behind me, which, by the way, is pretty much only for the rich and the wealthy these days. Because unless you're living in a spot, like I can go out and hunt bighorns every year, and all it's going to cost me is $55 for a tag, my fuel, my food, and some time off work. It's affordable. But to do any of these other sheep, to obtain the slam or 2 slams like I'm going for, that's doctors and lawyers and highfalutin dudes,
TV hosts,
business owners. I'm not. I work a real job. I get a paycheck every 2 weeks, just like everybody else. I've been very fortunate to work at the same company, Canalta Flow Measurement, for 25 years. I started sweeping floors there for $8 an hour, and now I'm the director of sales and service 25 years later. With that job, that full-time job, I'm doing a TV show where I complete at least minimum 13 episodes a year.
Wow.
Which is a pile of hunts.
Yeah.
I mean, and put that into perspective. When's the last time that you know of anyone going on 13 hunts a year and filming them all for a TV show?
Hey.
It's a lot of work. And I've got a couple of little side businesses, Next Level Hunter Apparel, and that's kind of my brand and kind of where we took that little business. But put your mind to it and you can do it. When I first started at Canalta sweeping floors for that $8 an hour, I had a mindset that I was going to be the best floor sweeper that company had ever seen. And then I went from there to the shop, to running the shop, into sales. And I've no post-secondary education. And I'm actually proud to say that out loud, where most people they don't want to talk about that. You put your mind to it and you can achieve it. With that will have to come sacrifice of grand proportion in different areas of your life. But if you want it, you can have it. You might have to sacrifice things, but if you want it, you can have it.
You just mentioned the mindset, and I totally get that. That's something I try to instill in my son, my 14-year-old son. It's very frustrating. And it is about, it's about the grind. And I am, when you talk about your career, I'm with you there 100%. Now, I did see where you had a challenge a couple of years ago, real challenge.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Why not? It's your show.
Well, no, if you got time, I just think it plays into.
Yeah, I've got time.
Yeah, it plays into what we're talking about, and that's a pretty scary thing.
Yeah. So the big C word, cancer.
Yeah.
I it was weird, my whole life kind of healthy, other than a few bad habits that I have, but come back from a bear hunt 6 years ago. So, 10, 12 days out in the bush. And the bear hunt's a nasty one because you're not showering. You're dealing with stinky baits, at that time, beavers that you would chainsaw up to put in the barrels and all this kind of stuff, right? Anyways, come back from a real successful bear hunt with a bunch of good friends and see my wife, and she greets me at the front door and she wants to give me a big hug and a kiss. I kind of give her the, whoa, hold on. I'm happy to see you, but let me jump in the shower and then I'll greet you properly, And I was in the shower and she came in the bathroom there. And she started talking about her plans for tomorrow because she wants to hang out. And I'm not a big guy, I'm not a, hey, let's go to the mall kind of guy, or hey, let's go to the theater and watch a movie. I'm not that guy. And I said to myself, I missed her. And I said, hey, tomorrow, whatever you want to do, I'm down for it. And she's like, well, I got to go to Costco and I got to go and she was getting an eye exam and results for an eye exam. And that was at our local doctor, home doctor, whatever you want to call it. And she said, you want to come and do that with me? And then we'll go and watch a matinee at the theater. She loves going to the theater. And I just replied back, yep, you bet, I'm in. And she was like, what? Seriously? I'm like, yeah, I'm in. So all good. And so we're at the doctor. She's getting her eye exam. And the doctor looks at me and goes, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. How you feeling? I'm, oh, great. I'm super good, busy, but on the go. And she's like, how about a physical? I see you haven't had a physical in like 5 or 6 years. I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I'm here. So anyways, does the physical. And of course, they don't say anything there, and all hunky dory. And we leave from that. And apparently she must have felt something. And so I go back and the wife and I are kind of planning to go to this matinee movie, and I had to run over to the office. So we split up, and I said, well, I'll meet you back and then we'll go to the theater. Well, I just get into the office and my cell phone rings, and it's Dr. So-and-so. Steve Ecklund? Yeah. Well, it's Dr. So-and-so. I hate to do this over the phone, but we believe you have cancer and I'd like you to come to the hospital right away. And I was like, wow, this is bizarre, So I had to phone my wife and tell her this because they told me to pack overnight bags. So she had to pack up bags for me, get me down there. So I meet her at the hospital, and yeah, sure enough, ended up with cancer. This is a Friday morning, and Saturday morning they operated.
Dang.
So yeah, it was a scary deal. And of course at the time, if you asked me, hey, can you tell me, a little bit about cancer? I'd be like, old people get it. And when they get it, they die. I mean, I have no other knowledgeable, anything to say on that matter. It wasn't even in my mindset whatsoever. So yeah, anyways, operated, had a successful operation. The 2 weeks waiting for pathology reports were probably the toughest time in our lives together. Cause you're waiting to see if any of those, cancer cells shifted to your lymph nodes or any of this stuff. Anyways, they come back successful. And, now kind of fast forward to the time where they talk to both you, my wife and I, and they say, okay, we're going to bring in the oncologist and the doctor and the this and the that. I think there was 3 or 4 different doctors in there talking about, after surgery, procedures, chemotherapy, radiation, all that kind of stuff. And they started talking about that, and you kind of blank out because it's so overwhelming at the time. And I honestly only remember hearing a section about long-term side effects. And you have to remember, I'm 40 at this point when I had cancer, and long-term side effects to them are like 20 years. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm 60 and I got to deal with side effects to these treatments. And I remember them talking about the possibilities of a colostomy bag.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, the needle went off the record, and I just perked up and I was like, okay, so what if I don't do any of this? Because to me, I started to just do the simple math. You've just said that I had a successful operation. Pathology reports come back positive. To me, you've taken the cancer out of it. And they're like, well, there's a 5% chance if you don't do this. There's a 35% chance if you don't do anything that it comes back. And I'm like, so there's a 65% chance that it won't come back? And they're like, well, we don't like to talk about it like that. And I'm like, well, 65% is pretty damn good in my books. I mean, I made a career out of 65%. So I actually opted out of doing chemo or radiation, and knock on wood, 7 years cancer-free now.
Now, what was that hunting season like? I mean, well, how invasive was the surgery, and didn't you go sheep hunting that year?
Yeah, I actually did 2 sheep hunts that year, and probably some of the biggest motivation for me, even while I was laying in the hospital waiting for pathology reports to come back, I was calling my friends and calling some of the outfitters saying, hey, here's what happened, but don't worry, I'll be there. And in my mind, I was just like, I'm not letting this disease or this operation interfere with anything I'm doing in my life. I'm going to go out there and just kind of do my thing, and I'm going to beat this. And I really took the mindset that I wasn't in a battle with cancer. Cancer was in a battle with me.
There you go.
And like I said, here we are 7 years later, and still getting clean bill of health every time I get checked on.
Nice. No, what caught me was, the fact that you're on the mountain hitting it hard, not very many months after that.
3 months.
3 months? Really?
3 months.
Really?
Yeah.
I bet your wife was happy.
Yeah, I did the first hunt that I did that year was for Dall sheep up in Alaska. And it was a planned 10-day hunt, and I killed my ram on day 21.
Wow. Holy smokes.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that was a hunt of a lifetime. I mean, an experience of a lifetime, in the middle of hell for some of it. Like I said, I've never been on a mountain hunt that was easy. So we didn't plan on any of this. So we ran out of food. We had a horse die on us crossing a river, stroked out and died, a pack horse. It was just crazy. I mean, crazy. And then to finally kill a ram on day 21 of a 10-day hunt, I had an outfitter, just an absolute gem of a man, that allowed me to stay until the end because he knew exactly what I was doing. I wasn't going to go home without one.
Yeah.
And that was a part of my healing process.
Yeah.
The second sheep hunt I did was actually right here in Alberta, and that was a bow hunt, and in November. Oof. And we went up, I think it was like November 14th, got dropped off. We had a team of horses pack us in and then drop us off, me and a cameraman. And they picked us up on it was December 2nd. And we were burning literally. There was a stint there about a week and a half that was, minus 30, and we're staying in tents, burning 40 feet of lumber a night, 40 foot of tree a night to stay warm.
Dang.
Every ounce of water you drank was melted. Yeah, it was incredible. But we came off that one successful too. I arrowed my ram on the last day of the season. Literally, it wasn't a TV made up thing. This was the last day of the season. All the other hunters that kind of come and go, you know, it was very hard, you know, super hard. And I don't judge anybody for leaving, but that wasn't an option for us. Number one, we didn't have a way out of there. Our horses weren't coming in to get us. So it kind of set us up to look like heroes anyway. But on the very last day of the hunt, I arrowed my ram, and we had the mountain to ourselves. The sun broke. I still look at the pictures, and it looks like a summer day on the day I killed him. But yeah, it was harsh. I remember pulling my glove off for like 10 seconds, and I thought I was going to lose a finger just because of how cold it was.
You know, and the reason why I asked if you want to tell that story is just to go back to, you know, my original question is, what is the one trait that you attribute to your success as a hunter? And it looks like your whole life is wrapped up in that one trait, and it's mindset. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, mindset. You want to call it mindset. You want to call it mental toughness. It's something that, you know, when you call it mental toughness, I can't help but, you know, it sounds like what a douchebag. Like he's telling everybody he's mentally tough. It's something I work on all the time. I probably, you know, mental toughness is a trait that I work on all the time. I spend more time working on that than I do on a treadmill, which is starting to show in my older age.
Yeah, well, I got news for you. At 47, it doesn't get any easier the next few years. You're going to see something.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Tell us a little bit about Next Level Hunter. I did a hashtag a few years ago, Next Level Bow Hunter. I'm surprised I didn't get calls from your attorney. I no longer do that. So what's Next Level Hunter?
You know, I come out with a harness system, binoculars and rangefinder. You know, I made it probably about 8 years ago for myself. No intentions on building a product to sell to the public or anything like that. But again, I'm one of those guys who I'm always working towards, number one, accuracy, proficiency with any weapon I'm using. So for example, rifle range, I'm the guy that will spend 8 hours trying to correct 1/8 of an inch on a rifle range.
We can't
only to find out the only way to do that is to come home, tear your scope off, and actually lap your scope rings, because the clicks aren't even fine enough to get that adjusted. So I'd come home after a whole day of shooting like that, or maybe even 2 days, tear the scope off and lap the rings, reinstall the scope, and go back out and do it again. I'm the guy that'll spend literally, everybody goes, well, you want to set up a new bow. It takes me about a month to set up a bow because I'm fine tuning everything. I'm knocking a half ounce of weight off of here, adding an ounce of weight back here, in order to achieve a faster balancing point. So I can find my bubble, like on my compound bow, on my wheeled bows, find my level faster than the average guy and be able to make a more accurate shot, because every second I save there, every half a second that I save on my preparation gives me a half a second longer with an animal that might be flighty. So I account a lot of my success to being proficient and speed, and finding a very comfortable combination of the two of those. So I go to making this bino harness, and I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm taking all the bino harnesses that I've ever tried, which is a plethora of harnesses, because I'm a gear junkie, trying to find the very best equipment that's out there. And so I take all the best parts from all these harnesses that I have laying around, and I cut them all apart, and I'm at the kitchen table, and I'm literally stitching this to that and that to this with a line and fishing line. I'm using fishing line as thread because in my head it's stronger than thread, right?
Yeah.
So I build this contraption, And that's when I started to play around with, okay, cut it off again and sew it with a little bit more of an angle. So if I pull my rangefinder out and I don't have time to put it back in its slot, I can drop it and it falls in my armpit out of the way of my bowstring. All of these little things. And by the time I'm done, I have this camouflage front piece with red strapping and a blue rangefinder pocket. And this thing is just terrible looking, but it is fast and efficient. And still does all the things you want a harness to do, like protect your binoculars, keep some, tags, lens pen, wind checker, all at hand's reach, has a thing for a knife. So, I mean, it's just deluxe, but it looks like shit, to be honest with you. And I started wearing it just, again, to make me a better hunter, more successful hunter. And people started to see it on the TV show, and they were kept on asking, what is this thing? What is this thing? And again, like most people who have a really great idea, how do you bring your idea? How do you get it manufactured? How do you sell it? How do you turn a great idea into a business? And I didn't know how to do that either. But I was smart enough to find somebody who was, and I found a guy who knew how to get the manufacturing done, and had a distribution kind of site already set up. And so I partnered with him, because it was never about the money for me. I never anticipated this anyway. So made him a 50-50 partner, and bingo bango, Next Level Hunter was born from the product side of things. So yeah, we've, in the last few years, we've probably pumped out 3,000 or 4,000 units, which is really cool. Kept them affordable because I'm a big believer that, it's not all about the dollars. I want people to wear this harness to make them a better hunter, to see how great it was. And of course, putting my logo on it, it's a bit of a head sweller too when you see them kicking around in photos and everything else. But it's just a really fantastic product. And then from there, the kind of the Next Level Hunter brand started to develop. And when people realized that I wasn't, an arrogant asshole talking about myself and calling myself a Next Level Hunter, it was actually about everyone else, anyone who spends the extra time on the range, spins an arrow to make sure it's not bent before they're shooting it. All of these little things, puts on a pack sack and gets their load, set and everything set 2 months before a hunt. These are next level things that hunters can do to better prepare themselves for success. And as that brand started to build, we ended up with a cool little Ram logo that was very cool, on anything you put it on, really. And I started to make shirts and hats and hoodies and Next Level Hunter stuff. And then from there, we kind of branched out into lifestyles. So we did, hardwater hunter for ice fishermen, and, different things, and herd bull for the elk hunters out there, or anybody that wanted to puff their chest out and tell everybody they're the man. And then people started to see the gear and were really impressed with it. So we've actually now just recently branched out into Next Level Hunter Apparel. So we're building the same cool hats and shirts and hoodies for anyone else's company. Stickbow Chronicles, you want hats? Give me a call. We'll give you a price.
We'll have to talk. We'll have to talk.
So yeah, shameless plug for Next Level Hunter Apparel, but yeah.
Where can people find that?
NHLapparel.com is the website, and look us up on Facebook or Instagram. Actually Instagram, NHL Apparel. And of course, me, if you want to check out me, Next Level Hunter, Steve Ecklund, both on Facebook and IG. Yeah,
I enjoy your IG page there. You got some good stuff on it. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's obvious that there's no smoke and mirrors. You are who you are on Instagram, on Zoom. We get along good.
The anti-hunters find that out when they try to, poke the bear, because unlike a lot of guys maybe in my position, I answer back instead of just block and delete. I'll answer back, and I'm not coming out to hate them back, but I usually get something witty or funny going, and people tend to get a kick out of that. So yeah.
Man, it's too bad the border's closed. I'd love to have you come down for Rod's clinic here in a couple of weeks. That's a shame. I think we'd have a beer and have a good time.
Yeah, man. I'd love to meet you and your crew in person for sure. And it sounds like it's going to be a hell of a weekend of learning.
Yeah.
Which I would love to do at some point for sure.
Yeah. Appreciate your time, man. You got anything else for the listeners? You want to? They know where to find you. Oh, what about the show? Where's the show on?
Oh, the show, The Edge.
Dadgum, yeah.
The TV show that I host. Yes. Yeah, that's right. Anybody that wants to check out The Edge up in Canada, obviously exclusive to Wild TV. Down in the States, we're on a couple of different platforms. Pursuit Channel, Cowboy Channel, which is a big one for us. Check it out on the Cowboy Channel for sure. 44 million subscribers.
Wow.
And it's new to us. We're the first hunting show on the Cowboy Channel.
Awesome.
So that's really exciting news for us. And if you want to check out any of the old content, Amazon Prime.
Right on.
As long as you don't live where.
I don't know. That was bizarre. Yeah, that was bizarre. That was bizarre. I thought it was a Canadian thing. It was exclusive to Canadian viewers, but apparently not.
Yeah. Well, there you have it.
All right, bud. Appreciate your time.
No problem. Thanks so much, man.